Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. If you want to join the conversation today, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Happy to talk about what's on your mind, things that have happened over the weekend. Rob, you might want to grab clip number 1, the Chris Hayes clip, and have that one ready to go. I'll get to that here in just a second. Hope you had an opportunity to watch my 49ers take it to the Packers last night. That puppy came right down to the wire. And I got to tell you, when I'm watching, I watched some football over the weekend. I like the playoffs. I watched the bowl championship tonight, the game between Auburn and Florida State. I'll watch that. By the way, talking about political correctness, the Florida State mascot is the Seminole. Just like the Redskins up in Washington. You try to take the Seminole away from Florida State, you will have to go through the entire Seminole tribe. They are one with Florida State. They are proud of the fact that the Florida State athletic teams are known by the mascot of Seminole. They've got some kind of ritual at the front end where a guy rides out on a horse and he buries a flaming sword or a flaming whatever spear in the ground at the 50-yard line. It's all part of the pageantry of college football. Used to have the same thing back in the day when I went to Stanford. I graduated there in 1973, which is the last year we had the Indian as a mascot. We were the Stanford Indians up until 1972, and Stanford was one of the first of the four-year schools to drop the Indian mascot, all for political correctness. And it's one of those things where, again, it was an example of white elitism. Because it was whites that said this is offensive. It's whites that said we've got to change this mascot. You had there was part of the pageantry of the Stanford football games is there was a genuine full-blooded Huron chief who would come out, Chief Lightfoot, and he was bona fide 100% Huron Indian. He would come out and do this like war dance at the 50-yard line with the tomahawk and the war feathers and the war paint and the whole business, wind up putting some kind of a hex. It was all for fun, but putting some kind of a hex on the opposing team, and then he'd ride. It was fun. It was just all part of the pageantry and fun of college football. And when Stanford started considering taking away that mascot, they had more Indian tribes that complained about it than supported it. They had far more Indian tribes, wrote the university, said, don't do it. We're proud to be associated with a graduate level academic institution, and please don't make the change. But the white elites, again, this was not coming from the Huron Indians. This was coming from the white elites that thought they knew better. I went back and looked up and by the way, what I did when I was at Stanford, we had these decals with these cartoon Indians, and they were really cute, and they were funny. Had the cartoon Indian thumbing his nose at the end of the line of a bunch of Indian warriors. Anyway, I loaded up on those. I went to the bookstore and loaded up on a Stanford decal, so I've still got one on the back of my 1965 Pontiac Le Mans. You can't get those anywhere anymore. But anyway, I went back, and so I'm going to watch that game tonight, Florida State and Auburn for the national championship, and I'll watch that. But I'll watch it from an easy chair, and I'll just kind of lean back, and I'll relax and maybe have some pistachio nuts and just enjoy the game. I was watching that 49er game last night. I'm a hardcore 49er fan, have been since 1964, and I watched that entire game. I mean, from the opening kickoff until the field goal that won the game on the last play. I watched that literally on the edge of my seat. I'd lean back during the commercial breaks, and then when they come out of a commercial break and go back to play, I just scooch up on the front edge of, I've got this nice, really comfortable lounge chair. You can lean back, got the footrest, the whole thing. Man, I'd scooch up right on the edge of that thing, and every snap for the whole game right on the edge of my seat. I had no idea how I got off on that. But I went back, by the way, and looked up the Redskins, the origin of the Redskins nickname. I've talked about it before, but in connection with this Florida State Seminole game tonight, the Redskins were named after their first coach, who went by the nickname Lone Star Dietz. He, according to him, was a Sioux Indian who was the daughter of a German father and a Sioux mother, an Oglala Sioux mother. Father German apparently ran off of a railroad crew and took refuge in the Sioux reservation, and they became his parents. He was the first coach of the Washington Redskins, and so the team got its mascot because it was named in his honor, quote, out of respect for Native American heritage and tradition. He said he was born on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, so forth and so on. So again, wasn't intended to be an insult. It was a token of honor and respect for the Redskins' first coach. All right, well, let's grab a couple of phone calls. Let's go to Max in Sanford, North Carolina. Number, by the way, is 888-589-8840. Max, welcome. What's on your mind?
Well, thanks. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I had an aha moment in Sunday school yesterday morning, and I wanted to share that with you as just being a terrific start for my week.
Hit me.
Okay, what it was, in Sunday school, we were talking about the Holy Spirit, and I mentioned that that it didn't appear to me like okay, when Jesus left us, he said, "I'm going to leave my Holy Spirit with you."
Uh-huh.
Jesus also said, "I and the Father are one." Okay, I spent some time, a lot of time, with Muslims overseas as a missionary, preaching the gospel to them.
Uh-huh.
And they always had a problem with, oh, you worship three gods. You worship this Father and this Son and this Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one God. Okay, and so I was during Sunday school. It occurred to me that, generally speaking, in the Bible, you never had Jesus and the Father and the Holy Spirit show up at the same time. It was pointed out to me by our Sunday school teacher, by another man in the class, that the Holy Spirit and God the Father showed up at the Transfiguration.
Right.
And then my wife said, well, they also all appeared at the baptism of Jesus.
That's correct.
But aside from that, I can't think of anywhere in the Bible where you had both the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit show up to actually do their work at once. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Well, I'd have to give that some thought. You're exactly right. I mean, at the baptism of Christ, you had both the Father, the Spirit, and the Son all present in that momentous event because the Father spoke from heaven, the Holy Spirit descended like a dove, and Christ obviously was the one being baptized. Then you have the same thing. Well, is there a specific reference to the Spirit on the Mount of Transfiguration? Because you have the Father speaking. I don't know that you have a specific mention of the Holy Spirit. What's more interesting to me, I don't know if I've really got an answer to your question, but it is interesting that Jesus says, look, I cannot send the Holy Spirit to you, at least in the sense that he can indwell every single believer on planet Earth. I cannot send him to you unless I go to the Father. Now, I don't understand that, but he said, I have to go away in order to send the Spirit to you. Back in 2.